Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. For the second time this week, I'm going to steal an idea from another BookTuber. But this time I'm going to try and do it in less than 50 minutes, which was my last video. This is an idea I saw on a new BookTube channel called KTB Reading, and what she's done is she's paired her Spotify Wrapped top 10 songs with 10 books, and I thought that's such a good idea. I'm stealing that immediately. Go check out her version, which is a lot more current and hip than mine, and also she's a very new booktuber, like 10 subscribers as I speak, and she has a very cute dog. Also, she started her channel because she got laid off from work, which is why I started my channel originally. But yeah, go check out her version, which has like Chapel Rain and stuff in it. I have literally never heard any of the songs in her one because I am an old man. But let's go through my bizarre Spotify rap. Mine's actually not Spotify. I use YouTube Music because A, it comes with YouTube Premium, so I don't want YouTube ads, and B, there's no Neil Young on Spotify, and I don't want to live in a world without Neil Young. So yeah, number 10, my number 10 most listened to song of the year. Some of these are quite embarrassing, but I'm not that embarrassed by them. This one's actually Bert from Pastori Times Fault. This is Show Me Heaven by Maria McKee, which is the theme song to the film Days of Thunder, which I have not seen. But Bert made a video, I think during Shorty September, and was talking about how he's become obsessed by Maria McKee, and I checked her out, and now I got a little bit obsessed by her as well. She's most famous for this song, but she actually has quite a range of music. Like her album Life is Sweet, which is one that Bert recommended, is quite grungy, and I really like it. But for some reason, Show Me Heaven's number one. And I'm going to link a video for every song. The video for this one is her doing it live on some TV show, and her voice is incredible live, an unbelievable set of pipes on her. What is this song about? It's a very saucy song, so I don't read that many saucy books, but I have just finished one, so I'm going to go with Book Lovers by, is it Emily Henry? I can't remember now. I'll put a picture up. I just finished this week. It's a really good romance about it's sort of it's your typical romance, but it's structured around the publishing world and loving books. So that was really interesting, and I thought it was just really well done book, really well done. A little bit too saucy for me, but it's not that saucy. I'm not going to talk too much about these books as well, like I say. But yeah, I think a lot of people have read that who like romance. It's very good. My ninth highest song is Mayonnaise by Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins have been in my top 10 artists probably since I was about 13 years old every year. If there were Spotify Wrapped back then, it would have been number one for about 10 years. But I still love Smashing Pumpkins, and I actually saw them for the first time this year, so I was probably listening to them more than usual, and they played Mayonnaise, and I loved it. It was great. They were like, I wasn't expecting much. I was kind of expecting to be disappointed, but they blew me away. They were brilliant live. And I'll leave a link again to an acoustic version of Mayonnaise. It's just a lovely Billy Corgan song. He kind of says that he made up the lyrics. They're kind of just nonsensy lyrics, but they're beautiful lyrics. But I'm just going to pick a book about food because mayonnaise is a food. And I'm going to go with Love and Saffron, which is a kind of lovely little, very short friendship book about, and it's written in like letters about two people who become friends through food, and they exchange recipes and stuff, and they're both sort of magazine columnists, and they write to each other. It's surprisingly deeply heartfelt and interesting. When you first started, it's just so foodie. I thought I wasn't going to be that interested, but it turned out great. My 8th highest listened to book. I mean, I wonder if any of these are going to be that modern. I think they are. It's November Rain by Guns N' Roses. I really don't know why I started listening to November Rain loads at some point this year. I think it's because I saw a TikTok about the video and how the video of November Rain, they just spent insane amounts of money and they were riding around in helicopters, and it's an utterly mad video. And Guns N' Roses at the time were just doing mad stuff. I've always been quite fond of November Rain because it's kind of a big song in my friendship group, and we always joked that we were going to jump through each other's cakes at each other's weddings, but we didn't because that would be insane. But yeah, it's a great song. For November Rain, it's actually a really depressing song. Like it's one of those songs that sounds upbeat, but the lyrics are really depressing about sort of falling out of love with each other and stuff. But I'm going to go with just a book that has November in the title that is also really depressing, which is Now in November by Josephine Johnson. This won the Pulitzer Prize. I think the author, Josephine Johnson, was about 24 when she wrote it, so that was extraordinary. I'm also amazed, this is about the Great Depression, right? It was written during the Great Depression as well. I was amazed at how sympathetic it was to poor people, considering the author herself was middle class. So it's an amazingly mature work. If you like The Grapes of Wrath, this is just like The Grapes of Wrath condensed down into a very small, beautifully written novel. So I very much recommend it. Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading recommended that, and that's why I read it. I will post the video to November Rain because it's a classic video. It's absolutely bonkers and it cost a fortune. Next up, number 7, is another band I saw this year, which is Lankum, and The Young People is the song. Lankum are a kind of Irish folk band, but they're alternative Irish folk. They're like heavy. They're like heavy, quite heavy at times, but it is still Irish folk. And what I will say about this gig that I went to is, it was about 90% Irish people in there, right? And it was the nicest crowd I've ever been in. People were shushing people who were talking when the song started, and I am a big fan of that. I love a bit of shushing, and also they just erupted into like protest when Lankum do a song about Palestine, and as soon as they finished, the crowd were chanting Palestine chants at the drop of a hat. It was amazing. But yeah, really great crowd, lovely people, and a great band. I will post the video to that. The Young People is probably one of their more accessible songs. It's just a lovely. All the people in the band sing as well. It's a proper Irish folk thing going on. The book I'm going to choose for The Young People is an Irish book about a young person, which is Foster by Claire Keegan. A booktube darling, and for a great reason. This is about a very poor Irish family, and they send their daughter to live with their slightly more affluent sister or cousin, I can't remember. And really, it's like 90 pages, but brilliant, unbelievably well done 90 pages. Like, not a single word is wasted. And it's kind of about experiencing love for the first time, but sort of it like family love, and it's just beautifully done. There's also a great Irish language film of this called The Quiet Girl. I think I've recommended it many times, but well worth watching. Another Irish song next. This is a band I'm not really that keen on, but I do really like this song. And they were just big this year, and I saw them. I wasn't at Glastonbury, but I was watching Glastonbury on the TV, and I thought they played a really good set. So I started listening to them, and that is "I Love You" by Fontaines D.C. This song is not a love song, even though it sounds like it is. What I really like about Fontaines D.C is his Irish accent that he sings with. They're a bit too hip for me, a bit too young and hip. I don't really get them. I'm too old, but they just look very cool. And this is a song about Ireland. Really, it's about someone who's moved away from Ireland, but talking about like Ireland, and it's quite political. They said, I saw that it was the first political song they'd written, so I'm going to go with a political Irish book, and I'm going to go with "Say Nothing" by Patrick Radden Keefe. I could have gone with "Killing Thatcher," which I just read, but I do think "Say Nothing" is like a better version of "Killing Thatcher." "Say Nothing" is a book about an IRA bombing, and it's told from the perspective of the bomber and by a woman who was abducted and killed by the IRA. So you get a perspective from both sides, and it's a very balanced book, and it's just a brilliant narrative history. It's a narrative history at the most compelling. Brilliant book. I need to speed up. I'm not even halfway through. Next song is Scottish rather than Irish, so we're moving upwards to Scotland, and that is "Something to Believe In" by King Creosote. And again, I'm not a massive King Creosote fan. I think I started listening to this song again because I used to really love this song, and I listen to it all the time, and I think it's because they're quite like Lankum, and I've been listening to a lot of Lankum. But "Something to Believe In" is a really lovely song, and I'll leave again the link down there. But he's a sort of Scottish folky singer, and this is very sparse on lyrics. The first lyric in the song is "dreaming without sleeping," so I'm going to go with the book that features a lot of dreamers in it, and that's "Dreaming the Eagle" by Amanda Scott, which is the first in her Boudica books, Boudica series. And in this, the dreamers are incredibly important to the people of Britain, and the Romans never really get this. They think that their warriors, their head warriors, are the people who are leading the Iceni and the other tribes, but really it's the dreamers that set the goals and things for the tribes. They are the people really in charge, and it's just, I don't normally like books with lots of dream sequences and stuff in them, but these are brilliantly done, and it feels very genuine. Next, we're going to "I Bet on Losing Dogs" by Mitski. And yeah, another beautiful, very sad song about supporting losing dogs in a race. But obviously it's probably a metaphor for people as well. But lovely Mitski song. I think this one I've just been listening to because Mitski's kind of a TikTok darling, and she's a great singer. But yeah, very nice song. Again, if you want to listen to it, I'll leave a link. I've gone for a dog that gets lost for this one, and I get to show off my Folio Society edition, which is "The Call of the Wild" by Jack London. A book from the perspective of a dog that is, I don't think he's lost actually, Buck. I think he's kidnapped and sort of forced to work in a sled team. But you follow Buck's entire life, and it's just a beautifully written little dog book. Next is probably my favourite song of the year, and it came out this year. So yeah, look at me. I am very hip and up with the times. But it is by a man who's about 60 years old, and that is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds' final rescue attempt from his album that came out this year, Wild God. And again, I saw Nick Cave live recently on the Wild God tour, and it was maybe the best I've ever seen him. This tour's amazing. This album is one of my favourite ever Nick Cave albums. I love it, and I think Final Rescue Attempt is one of the best Nick Cave songs ever, and quite accessible. And it's a beautiful song about how when he first met his wife, or actually when his wife not when he first met her, but when they kind of broke up when they first met, when they were first dating, and then she came back, and it's about his sort of wife coming back, and it's just a beautiful one of his most beautiful songs, I think. And there's a great bit where he's saying, "My hand searching for your hand, searching for my hand, searching for your hand." It's beautifully done. But I'm going to go with a real rescue attempt, and that is Into Thin Air by, I never know how to say his name, John Krakauer. This is amazing really, because at the time of this disaster on Mount Everest, it just happened. It was the biggest ever disaster on Mount Everest, and they just happened to have a writer, a journalist on with them he's really into climbing. But again, this is just another, like Say Nothing, and not another incredibly compelling non-fiction narrative form, and he was actually there, so it's even more interesting because of that. But basically, they make some bad decisions, and lots of people get caught in a storm on Mount Everest, and some of them have to be rescued. But basically, it's kind of hard because you can't see anything. But a really interesting book, and generally more about sort of this tourist element to Mount Everest as well. It's really interesting, like rich people who aren't really prepared get stuck up there. Next, another surprising, this is my second most listened to song of the year, a surprising entry for me, is Forgiven by Alanis Morissette. Again, I can't really remember why I really got into this song and Alanis Morissette in general this year, because my mum was a big my mum is a big Alanis Morissette fan, and obviously when Jagged Little Pill came out, everyone was a big Alanis Morissette fan. And I remember seeing her when I was 17 with my mum at V Festival, and I kind of wasn't looking forward to it because it's like my mum's the artist my mum likes, so I wasn't really that bothered. But she was an absolute ball of energy. She runs around the stage like a maniac, and I do think some of her songs are brilliant. It's like Jagged Little Pill, it's a brilliant album, and Forgiven is my favourite on there. So it's just a song I've been listening to a lot, and yeah, it's really good. It's about sort of Catholic guilt and how girls rebel against it. Like if you're forcefully repressed, you're gonna break out and be a bit wild when you're older. But when I think of Catholicism, I always think of one author, and that is Graham Greene. And I'm not going to go with one of his more religious books, because I actually really like his silly books much more than his serious books. And I want to get. Plus, I have a Folio Society edition of Travels with My Aunt, very worn. I actually bought this for my mum, and I can't remember why, but she never read it, so I just took it back. But she moved to New Zealand, so she wasn't taking a lot of stuff. But yeah, this is a very silly book about just going on holiday with an old aunt, and it's just funny. On to the top song of the year for me, and again, I think most people might find this embarrassing, but I have no real shame. So, and it's a cover song, and it's not Nottingham by the Bygones or Alison Young, and the guitarist she always does songs with, but when they play together they're called the Bygones. But Alison Young's kind of she's very young, but she sings like lots of old 1950s classics and stuff. And Not in Nottingham was written by Roger Miller for the Disney film Robin Hood. So this is a song essentially that is sung by a cartoon rooster when the characters are all in jail in Nottingham, and it's basically about how nothing good ever happens in Nottingham. I think I might have listened to this so much this year because I'm always watching Deb, Raina Reed's stuff, her channel, and she's always got Nottingham as a sort of place on her videos, and it just always reminds me of this song, and then I end up listening to it. But it's a beautiful cover. The Bygones in general do great covers, and their original songs are really good as well. They're a really interesting band that, if you like kind of 1950s music and people with beautiful voices, then you should check them out. I will pick for this a man who is very much associated with Nottingham, but this is about when he was not in Nottingham. See? And that is The Damned United by David Peace, which is a book told from the perspective of Brian Clough during, I can't remember how long he was at Leeds, 1974, 44 days. So Brian Clough was a football manager, and he managed Leeds United, who were like the best team in the league at the time, for 44 days in a kind of disastrous spell. He'd been the Derby County manager and very successful with his second in command, Peter Taylor, who was kind of his chief scout as well. Clough was sort of world-renowned football manager because not only was he a brilliant manager, but he also was an incredible character, and he was on talk shows like every week because he was just such good value for money, a very funny man. And there's a brilliant film of this where Michael Sheen plays him, and basically he'd spent his whole career slagging off Leeds United and saying they were dirty cheats, and then he took over from Don Revie when Revie went to manage England. This is very football heavy stuff, but I would argue that you don't even need to like football to like this book, because it's just an incredible stream of consciousness from one man's brain. It's almost like a football version of like Virginia Woolf. It's brilliantly done. I originally saw this on Mark Nash's channel, and he loved the book. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I would watch the film first and then watch this and then read this if you're interested, because it's just brilliantly done. And so after this disastrous 44 days in charge of Leeds United, he then went down after getting sacked. He goes down. This is not in the book, but he goes down back into Division 2, takes over Nottingham Forest, and Peter Taylor joins him at Nottingham Forest, and they win the league, win the first division, and then win 2 European Cups, which is an amazing story. And there's some great documentaries about Brian Clough as well. But yeah, I won't go into it too long because I'm already at 25 minutes. But yeah, that's Not in Nottingham is Cartoon Rooster, my top song of the year. So, but let me know down below what your top song of the year was, and check out KTB Reading's video as well, which is like Sabrina Carpenter and Chapel Roan and stuff that I don't know about because I'm old. Have a good one, BookTube. Bye.